This episode of the Pain Game Podcast is sponsored by Surfshark. Surfshark is a virtual private network that you can use as an app or browser extension. It lets you place yourself anywhere in the world and allows you to access the internet as if you were in another country. So let's say you wanted to rewatch Fury Wilder, but from the American point of view, you could use Surfshark to put yourself in America, watch their coverage, you could hear their commentary, and witness Tyson Fury winning it all in their backyard. Oh, I bet they were gutted. So if you want to check it out, go and click the link in the description below and use the code Geordie to get 83% off with 3 months extra for free. Also, Surfshark offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk to try it out. And you think I'm done? Nah, I've got another one for you. They also let you use one account on all your devices, so they've just got you covered. So big thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring this episode, but for now, enjoy the podcast.
At one time, I was homeless. Instead of going home every night, there was no home to go to.
Life at home was very difficult. I grew up being abused.
I lost my belt. I lost respect. I embarrassed my family.
My vision was pretty much non-existent. I was able to just about scrape by the medicals.
When I come out, I have supreme confidence, but I'm scared to death. I'm afraid of everything.
I didn't care about living, I just wanted to die. I got up and I felt the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders. I knew I was going to make a comeback.
Fighting, this was designed for me. This is what makes us who we are.
I'm the best!
Who the fuck is that?
I'm so far ahead of this game. My dream, my vision for myself is to be the greatest martial artist to ever live.
I have always been a fighter. There's nothing I do better in this life than fighting.
There ain't never been a man that could better me. I was born to do this.
Nobody can get close. I'm the best fighter in the world.
I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been.
Can you hear us, John?
Yeah, I can hear you, mate. Perfect.
All right, my name's Brian, mate. I don't know if you remember meeting us before.
I do. I come with Tyson on your show, didn't I, in London?
Yes, I wasn't actually aware of what a cracking talker you were at the time. Otherwise, it would have been you and him. But here we are. I got you finally.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely, it's an honour, mate. I think you're one of the most entertaining speakers in the sport of boxing, and
thank you.
I'm a huge boxing fan. God knows what must be going through your head after a whirlwind. What is it like to just finally look at the trilogy complete with Deontay Wilder and know your son came out on top, mate?
It's a relief because he was the hardest hit heavyweight in the last 60 or 70 years, probably of this century, to be honest with you, because nobody hits harder than Wilder. I can see from the right hand he took, his whole body quivered like a jelly on a plate. Yeah. You know, so it was always danger. And he was like a wounded tiger, wasn't he? He could arm you still at any time. You know, he's got to get out of the way, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Tyson, and I think the most worried I've ever been. How worried were you when he went down in that fourth round twice?
I was worried because it was early on in the fight. You know, and I thought, you know what, to get dropped in the fourth round, but he made a rookie error and walked straight onto a powerful right hand, which I'd never seen Tyson do before, to be fair with you. He's generally clever than that. But what happened was he tried to pick a wounded tiger up by the tail, didn't he? Mm-hmm. And he got caught. You know, a rookie error, but he paid the price for it, you know, but he was hurt, badly hurt. Yeah. At some stage, you know, I think he was more hurt than when he went from the first Wilder fight, to be honest. He looked more hurt then.
Sorry, that was the same shot that I think Luis Ortiz got flattened with.
Absolutely, and I think that hurt more than when he was out on his back, because he got up and he looked stronger when he got up the first time. He was a bit groggy when he got up this time, to be fair with you. It was a hell of a shot, though.
Yeah, when someone goes down a second time that early, you just don't see them go on and win the fight. No. And I guess that's testament to what an amazing gutsy performance it was from Tyson. You talked about the fact that he got hit with that kind of shot. A few people have said it wasn't the best version of Tyson, technically speaking. Why do you think that was?
He never had time to prepare properly because he had nothing but problems leading up to the fight. He got COVID in July when it was meant to take place there, got back, and then his daughter was gravely ill, and he spent 2 weeks on the floor of an hospital. You know, and he didn't get out of the hospital till the 4th or 5th of September, and he did that 4 weeks later. You know, because he went running with me whilst he was in Liverpool. And to be honest with you, he was all out after the 3 mile run. I finished fitter than him, 56-year-old and 20 stone. His lungs on fire. I could hear him breathing like a withered horse. You know, and at the end of the day, I thought, you know what? how we're going to get this. But he said, look, I've got to do it because of my fans. They've waited so long. He said, I don't want to lose face. I'm going to fight this man if I've got one leg, he said. If I've got one leg and one arm, I'm fighting Wilder. That's what he did. And I was worried about it from start to finish, but we put a brave face on, did no negativity at all. It was all positive stuff. And we just wanted to make him as positive about it as he possibly could, because we knew he was going to do it anyway.
Yeah, I've never seen Tyson look that tired during the middle of a fight. That was where the fears were really gripping. Like, me and all my mates were watching it and we were all panicking at this point. But he did pull through, and he always does seem to pull through, and that's the sort of special thing, I guess, about him. Where does this come from, do you think? Where's that inner belief coming from?
You're born with that. I've told him all his life that nobody can beat you, son. Yeah. You've got ability to burn, you've got heart to burn, you've got drive to burn. Nobody can equal you in any department. And I instilled that in him from being 7 or 8 year old, because I knew he had a lot. And I said, there's only one man going to ever beat you, son, and that's yourself. And it's tremendous. But it's a DNA thing. It's got to be. I've never seen that kind of will and desire, especially when you're in trouble like that. Because it was all over in the 4th round. If you'd have said to me, okay, it's going to get stopped next, I wouldn't have been so surprised. But he went on again. He had that look in his eye, got up and said, here we are again. Right, dogfight, trenches, and that's exactly what he went in.
I've never seen a heavyweight fighter take punishment and get dropped, and actually is generally more scary after you drop him. It's an unusual thing, isn't it? He
just sort of like, he just had an influx of power and desire. Did like somebody put a jump back on him.
Yeah.
It was like somebody injected him with venom and on hell intentions. Because after the 6th round, 5th and 6th and 7th, he was getting stronger and stronger. But inactivity had a lot to play. Played a big part in that, because he'd been out for 20 months, a lot of problems, and I don't think he settled before 6 or 7 rounds, Tyson. I think it took him 7 rounds to settle into it.
His timing didn't seem to be the normal timing that we see from Fury. It took him a while.
He was 60% of what he should have been. How can you prepare in 3 or 4 weeks max? And he hardly done any road work. You can see by his body that he could have done better.
Yeah.
He was relying on brains, skill, and heart, will, and determination to bring him home. And it did in the end, in a thrilling affair. But could he have been better? Oh, yes.
It makes you think, no wonder Deontay Wilder accused him of cheating, because he must be so mentally broken by the fact that this guy, Tyson, when he came in the first fight, probably had his weakest physically. And then in the 3rd fight, maybe at his least fit, we've seen him, and you still couldn't get him out of there. Like what?
Well, I just think that was the best Deontay Wilder we've seen.
I do,
before or after, and 60% of Tyson, and that still wasn't enough.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, you'll never keep this guy down. He's a gigantic man with a heart as big as himself, and I'm his father. Don't know where it comes from, because I've never seen it in a fighter before. That will and desire when you shouldn't be winning. He's doing things you can't do. He's doing the impossible. He had 3 weeks training for that. And the training basically was just sparring and gym work, a bit of bag work, sparring, and a bit of strength and conditioning work. That's all he had. He never had time to the hotels. Like I say, we could have done with it being put back a bit, but he said, no, Dad, I can't put it back no more. Because I didn't want him to fight him. I said, look, this is ridiculous. Yeah. So how can you fight this fellow? He's been training for 18 months for you. I said, he's had plenty of time to get over his whooping. I said, now he's put a year's training on and off, and they've got it right, which big up to Malik Scott. He'd done a good job, and I'll take it back about the kid. What I said about him, I said he couldn't improve him, but he did. And I'm a man who admits when he's wrong.
Yeah, when Deontay came out landing those stiff body shots, for all Deontay was clearly, he looked tense and he looked very nervous. They were having an impact, and I was worried, because obviously the movement of Fury is what we expect, and we expected that to slow him down a bit. So credit to Malik Scott, but in terms of Deontay, after 3 fights, you'd have thought there'd have been a handshake there. What do you make of that? The lack of respect at the end.
Well, he just made a great performance for himself, didn't he? And he showed like his childish characteristics again. I don't like Wilder as a man at all. He'd never be on my Christmas card list. I'd never say anything good about him, only his fighting ability, because he's got nothing else good about him. He can punch, and he's got art, and he's got a warrior's will, but that's all he's got. Was a man or anything else, zero. But did he put a good performance up that night? Of course he did. It takes two to tango, and it made a great evening in the boxing. Probably the greatest heavyweight title fights you'll see in some time. And it takes two to tango. He played his part, but a horrible, horrible, horrible man. Because anybody shake hands. After what they've been through, they battered each other to a pulp. You'd think the last thing to have, okay, we'll put our differences to one side. I'm going to shake your hand, mate. You beat me 3 times. There's my hand, there's my heart. We'll have a drink sometime. You know, it was worthy of that and more. But what did he get? And nothing. I don't respect you as a sport, and I got no respect for you at all. And I told Tyson, I said, listen, Tyson, don't show him no respect at the end of it. Don't go and shake his hand. Don't do nothing. But Tyson's a lovely guy. Mm-hmm. He's been brought up to show respect and put his hand out to shake hands. We're fighting people. The fights I've had in my lifetime, we've always shook hands afterwards. And he's been my worst enemy. But we shook hands afterwards. It's a fight. We put our differences to one side. We shake hands, have a pint of beer. If you want to be my enemy on Monday, you can be. That's how we work.
It feels like Deontay just can't accept it. You know, he knocked out whatever it was, 40 people solid. And then this one guy who he sort of picked on, thinking, he's out of shape. It'll be a nice, easy win on my resume. And then I'll move on to Anthony Joshua. And, you know, the Gypsy King comes and shocks the world 3 times over. And he just can't accept that someone else is better than him. And you're right, it is childish. And it's a shame, like you say, it was one of the greatest fights I've ever seen. And even Mike Tyson, someone who obviously you were inspired by and gave your son his name, said, you know, they went down as the greats, and specifically Tyson Fury is an all-time great. What is it like to hear Mike Tyson call your son an all-time great boxer? Absolutely. The feeling can't be described with any kind of words. I've always been a big, big, big fan of Mike Tyson. I called my boy after him. You know, he's probably up there with the best of them as well, Mike Tyson. All those guys, if they just mention my son as being up there with them, not better, being with them, that's good enough for me. I'm ecstatic. I'm on cloud 9 here. I've never felt as good in my life. I feel positive about everything. I was a little bit worried about my son's health because I don't like him taking too many shots around the brain area like he did. Yeah. And you know, he took a lot of stick in that fight. He was walled up. He knew he'd been in a fight. He was sore the next day. And I looked at him and I said on the thing to him when he phoned me, I said, this is the world of fisticuffs, Tyson. He said, I know that. This is what I signed on for. And when I climb in that ring, that'll be the best I possibly can be. I will never be denied. He said, Dad, no, don't ever doubt me. I said, son, I've never doubted you. You fought like a trooper to live, to get into the world, and you're fighting now. You know, you changed the world. And let me tell you something. Gypsy people don't put crowns on outhouses. He's not a king for nothing. He's a king of every gypsy in the world, and they are a lot of people, and they respect people, and they're not ordinary people to get to be called the king of the gypsies. So can you elaborate a little bit? I mean, actually, as it happens, my dad recently educated me on my bloodline and how we have our traveller bloodline, and what it means to the people to give him such a title and sort of how he's revered by them.
Let me tell you about gypsy people. You know, they're all for themselves. You know, they all look after their own ship. They're one-man armies. But listen, they all pay homage to a king like him. Because everyone with a drain and ounce of travelling blood in them know that they recognise greatness when they see it in him. And they just admire him and look up to him. And he just opened the floodgates for every traveller, child, gypsy wanting to be a boxer. So now they're going to put more time into it. And I'm sure you'll see more champions come now through Tyson, through the travelling community. Like before, they got married at 15, 16, whatever they're going to do, and set off, and they was making their own living. They had no time to box for free. They had to earn a living because they were child fathers themselves. They was having kids when they were 17, 18. But now that's different. That's different now through Tyson and Billy Joe Saunders.
Yeah, I think obviously Tyson, he's become a champion of mental health as well, and a lot of things, and we'll get on to that. But I feel like, you know, the Travellers were, aside from some of the TV shows that were made about them, which, let's be honest, were often poking fun a little bit, a bit like, you know, some of the shows made about Geordies, for Christ's sake. But I feel like he's sort of redefined the way people see the Traveller community. So, you know, I'm sure a lot of them are grateful for that. Deontay Wilder, on the other hand, moving forward, where do you think he goes from here? Because it was a great performance, but, you know, he lost, and sometimes that people are never the same after a beating like what he received twice in a row now.
That's a good point, because how much has it took out of Deontay Wilder? 2 good beatings in a row. You know, I don't know what he's got left. He's 36 years old. I think this time, October time, he's 36. And how much desire has he got left? Or how much has he had took out of him, and can it be replaced? Because you know something, I honestly don't think Wilder will ever be the same again. And I think once he settles down and looks in the cold light today, he might think, you know what, I've done all I can here. I'm 36, I've made millions of dollars. I'm going to call it a draw. Yeah. You know, and forget about it, hang his gloves up. But you never know. Boxers, it's like a drug. Too much a bigger drug than cocaine, boxing, to a boxer, you know what I'm saying? Because he can't give it up. It's like me, I train still today. I run every day, hit the bags, you know, even though I'm not a shilling bit, but I still do it, you know what I'm saying? Because I can't help it. I love doing it. Yeah. You know, and that's the same with boxers. They can't leave it alone.
Well, Malik Scott apparently has already said that he's talking about making a comeback. Where would you rank him in terms of other fighters right now? Because obviously we've got Usyk and AJ, we've got Dillian White and a few other heavyweights out there, Otto Wallin. Where do you put him roughly?
A country mile second best of all the others. You know, because he knocks all the others out cold. He knocks Usyk out, he knocks AJ out, and they haven't got the will and desire. Tyson has to overcome him. And if Deontay Wilder would have boxed any other heavyweight on the planet Saturday night, he got the victory. Yeah, he'd have got the victory without even a shadow of a doubt. Usyk, Joshua's, them all. You know, but Tyson, he come up against a special human being. One that's got an incredible engine. He can do 12 rounds not fit. You know, and this man will not go away. He's on you all night long because he wants to win. He wants to win. He's got that undying belief in himself. And he says right to me, from a boy, Dad, I am willing to die in that ring. I will die trying. He said, because I'd rather be dead than be beat in that ring. And that's his motto. He said,
does that
rather
scare
be dead.
you as his dad? Does that scare you?
It does, because I know, and everybody else knows he'll go all the way with it. It's been proven. Like when he got up in the 4th round, he was all over the place. Yeah. He never had much left in him, but he dug and found something else. And he bit down his gumption and thought, right, I said I was going to die, but I tell you what, I'm going to die trying. And it's unbelievable. It's beggars belief what I was seeing from my own son.
Oh,
but he's actually practiced what he's been preaching to me all his life. But I'm so proud of him, you know.
No, you should be. You should be, mate. I mean, we were all
I'm getting
gobsmacked
goosebumps talking about it. I'm getting goosebumps talking about this.
We were gobsmacked in the studio. Like, I mean, you know, he's your son, but I felt like emotional at the end of that fight. It's one of those roller coasters that we all went on, and you staggered. And to be fair, Wilder did help. He fought at the bitter end, and when you look at the commitment both men showed to go out on their shield, to give everything they had, especially, and I think it was even more amazing, only weeks, 1 or 2 weeks after Anthony Joshua's last fight, where he showed so little commitment and so little willing to go out on his shield and was very reserved. I think it almost made the fight even more, it showed even more how powerful it was.
Well, you've only got to look at Joshua's body language after the fight, his behaviour on the stool. It's behaviour warriors don't behave like. Like if you look at Tyson, look at Deontay Wilder dipped his head, much to say, I've given me all, I can't do any more. And he was just all out. But he wasn't making any motions like he wasn't discomforting. Yeah. He wasn't like trying to do anything but soak it all in. Deontay Wilder fought his heart out. He had nothing left at all. You know, and I think he was teaching on being conscious when he sat in his stool. That's how hard he fought. But you know, AJ, he didn't do anything wrong. You can only do what you can do in boxing. He just hasn't got the desire or the will, not a quarter of it, of these other two men, Wilder or my son. But listen, he's been a good champion, but does he ever beat these other two men? Definitely not, because he's not a one-punch knockout artist like Wilder either.
The word you used there, behaving, I think that's a great word, and I've heard Teddy Atlas use this word before as well, where he talks about behaving like a fighter. And with AJ, obviously he's got so much natural ability as an athlete, but when you're seeing him get knocked down by Ruiz, and the referee looks at him and asks, do you want to continue? And his body language is all wrong. And then again, when Usyk is getting the better of him, the body language. And that's it for me as well. That's why I don't think he beats either of those two either. I think he should beat Wilder. I think he's got a better rounded game than Wilder. But I just think that Wilder, like you say, he wants it so bad. And that right hand is a killer.
The minute he stings AJ with a right hand like that, Wilder, it's good night for AJ.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't got the resilience to cope with anything like that. And believe me, Usyk is not the puncher Wilder is. And
Usyk got a reaction. Usyk got a big reaction. Yeah.
And to be honest with you, he's not a knockout ass. He's a respectable puncher, Usyk. He's an airport puncher.
Well, he's a cruiserweight, isn't he?
Yeah. Wilder's a lights out man. He'll just switch your lights off completely. And AJ, they can't deal with it. Nobody else can. Him and Wilder, they're out there on their own.
What were you thinking as you were watching the AJ Usyk fight? Because it felt like the fight just sort of passed AJ by while Usyk just racked up the rounds.
Well, I'll tell you what I got. He was just trying to stay in the game. He felt Usyk's power early on with the left hand straight down the pipe in about the first or the second round. I thought, hang on. He made his mind up then.
Yeah.
I can't take this power. I've got to watch I don't get knocked out. And he just settled for second best. As long as he finished on his feet, he did enough to keep him in the fight instead of trying to win. You've got to try and win. He was in Tottenham, 3 miles from his house. He was defending his country. He should have defended like Tyson defends it.
Yeah.
He didn't do that. He just wanted to get his money and run. But there's a difference. Tyson's a warrior.
Mm-hmm.
He's a fighting man. He's a businessman and a poster boy. There's a big difference. You know what I'm saying? But for what he is, he's done very, very well. Anybody who can pick a world championship belt up, and I mean, they had it given to him by this other fella. But he took it off, Charles Martin, and they had to rob it off my son in the beginning to give him it, or he'd never been champion. Only for my son beating Klitschko, Joshua would never ever have had a belt. He would have had to go and win it proper. And he weren't capable of beating any of those guys. He's proved it.
I mean, when you talk about settling for second best, when you're defending your title, I think you have to mentally fight as if like you're competing for the title and the belts are up for grabs. And he didn't have that eye of the tiger. He didn't go out there and go, you know what it is, I've lost 9 rounds. I'm just going to go out and try and win. And if I lose and get knocked out, I'll lose. He didn't commit like that. And even at the end, when Usyk was all over him, you seen him sort of walk off and go, as if I survived. And I thought to myself, that's not the mentality I'm expecting from someone trying to win a world title.
Definitely not. When you're fighting for yourself, your own self and your country and your fans, you've got to be a die-hard man. And nobody wants to die in the ring, but that's the profession you've adopted. This is what you're getting paid to do. You've got to make the best possible job of it. And I would rather get knocked out trying than lose on points. Just stay in the game. And and I definitely thought at the beginning, he's got too much for Usyk, which he should have had. The man was a blowed-up cruiserweight. He only weighed about 15.5 stone a night. He'd have weighed at 15.10 or something, fully dressed. He'd have been 15 stone. He had the brawn. He had the strength for 3 men, a bigger man all round, and a good array of boxing skills. But did he use them? I'll tell you why he never used them. His heart and desire let him down. And they go together. Ability and desire to win go together. If one's missing, forget it. Because I know loads of lads with bags of ability, no heart. And they're nowhere.
We're seeing against fighters like Klitschko and Dillian Whyte, AJ pulled the trigger. But then after Ruiz, he just doesn't look the same. Do you think that is the reason, or do you think there's something else going on there? I
think, in my own mindset, the Klitschko fight emptied his tank that much and terrified him. He's never got over it. Because I think Klitschko let him off the hook for 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Klitschko did nothing. He was out. Got him down in the 5th or 6th round. He did nothing with like 3 rounds, Klitschko.
They both took 3 rounds off, didn't they?
Took 3 rounds off, and I wonder why. Klitschko, you could say that because he's another 3 years older. He's 42 or something. AJ, he was just trying to recover from a big knockdown. But I think once he got knocked down proper like that and felt the power and how it feels to get nearly knocked out, and the feeling's a horrible thing. It's the most horriblest thing you can ever go through. I think he's a bit too much for his mindset, and he's never got over it. But I don't want it to happen again. It's like having a bad car crash, isn't it? If you had a bad car crash, you don't want to look forward to another one, do you? And that's how it is with him.
How do you see the rematch going between AJ and Usyk?
If he doesn't change his team around and make adjustments, Usyk will beat him again. Same thing, repeat. But if he changes his team up, but how can you breathe heart and desire into a man who ain't got none? How can you do that?
Well, I didn't see the corner screaming at him. You expect the corner with maybe 3 or 4 rounds to go, start to scream at him and give him the fireman speech, but it wasn't. It was just business as usual.
All I heard was brilliant work, brilliant White. Round 9, he's lost every round. Get behind the jab. What? Yeah. You don't need that in your corner when you're trying to win titles. But I do think his team, Rob McCracken, knew that Usyk could knock him at any time and was frightened of getting him KO'd.
Yeah.
Rob McCracken and his team wanted to get him to hear the final bell. He wasn't bothered about winning because they knew Usyk could count him out and they didn't want that to happen. And they'd settled for a points loss and they were trying to keep him in the game. They're trying to keep him in the fight.
There's apparently Eddie Hearn's pushing Dillian Whyte as the mandatory, saying that he should be next for Tyson Fury. Who out of the 3 fighters do you expect Tyson to fight next?
Let's put it this way. I don't think White's getting past Wallin.
It's a tough one.
I think Otto Wallin, he beats Dillian Whyte, to be fair with you. Tough fight. And to be honest with you, if I was a gambling man, you got to pick Wallin because he's a southpaw, 6'5", 17.5 stone. He can box, he's got balls, and he can hit. You know what I'm saying? So White's got his own problems. But is White in Tyson's class? No. There's nobody in his class, Tyson. Whoever he decides to fight next will be a run out for Tyson. And then he'll look at Usyk. Usyk's on his mind. He wants to unify the belts. Whatever he wants to do after that is his own business. But I know it'd be hard for Tyson to get motivated with men like Dillian Whyte, Chisora, and all these 5 and 6 tier heavyweights. It's hard work for Tyson now. If you want to see the best Tyson Fury, put Tyson in hot water and let him fight his way out of it. That's the only way you see Tyson Fury perform.
It's such a shame that we didn't get the AJ fight when we should have done. It's a real shame.
We was all definitely disappointed with that. But listen, the boxing fraternity ought to be ashamed of themselves. How they let that one slip, I don't know. That's ridiculous.
Well, the idea of rematch clauses make. I mean, in no other sport in the world do you have, let's say football, 2 semi-finalists, and then you get a winner and a winner on the other side, and then they don't fight in the final. They go and rematch the other semi-final. The whole boxing structure is the only people who think boxing like that makes sense are people who've been in boxing so long that they've forgotten what normality is, in my opinion. Because every other sport is different.
Quite agree. Rematch clauses should be banned.
Yeah.
That's why they have contenders, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because other men's there working their way up to fight for a title. And with all these rematch clauses, it could be 3 years before Tyson fights Usyk or Joshua.
Yeah. It's
then
insanity.
Then they're past the best, then, aren't they?
Yeah.
This is what I say. This is why I enjoyed Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, because both men fought at the best. Young men fought at the best, not when there was 5 year past the sell-by date.
But even then, if Fury hadn't have been in a vulnerable position coming into the first fight, would they even have given him that? So that's how crooked boxing is, and it is so frustrating. One guy who's calling out Tyson at the moment, which is very strange in my opinion, is David Haye.
Good Lord Almighty!
Bizarre.
Don't mention that idiot to me. That is a crackerjack. That he's been on the crack pipe with money. That's been on the crack pipe. That wants a kick up the arse. Wants a kick up the arse, doesn't it? It's as fragile as a china pot. That.
It's just so strange.
The only thing big about him, you know what that is?
What's that?
His freaking ego.
Yeah.
Man's good for note. And to talk about someone getting a listen, I'll have a reef made early for him if he wants to get him with Tyson. I'll have a reef made early with his name on it. Rest in peace, David Haye. You silly man.
I mean, considering he suffered back-to-back defeats against Tony Bellew, it is very strange when Bellew flattened him.
Bellew flattened him, and Bellew's a big fat kid, so he goes on about people's conditioning. Bellew's not got a body. Beautiful. Bellew battered him from pillar to post.
Yeah,
I made him cry.
Yeah,
the man's got balls like man of fat peas. You can't see them. He's got no heart, no balls, no note. And I'll tell him to his face. And this is a big podcast, isn't it? David Haye, keep my son's name out of your mouth because you're going to end up in a grave, mate, with a big red rose wreath on it. You stupid man.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, Don't talk about Furies no more, because you ain't good enough to talk about a Fury, because you haven't got art big enough to talk about one. You're a cowardly mother, so stay in your own lane and do some work on your punting, because you're useless at that as well.
Well, the strange thing is he had his chance to fight Tyson. Obviously,
he cut his own eye. What kind of man cuts his own eye to get out of the fight?
And generally speaking, in regards to David Haye's career, obviously he fought Klitschko, lost that, fought Bellew, obviously lost those. He was a cruiserweight champion. What did you think of David Haye back in the day? What do you think of his career? Sorry,
I'm not knocking his achievements. He won 2 cruiserweight titles. He's always lacked art, but he could punch, and he had a good array of boxing skills, better than most. Not knocking that at all, but he's never been one. I remember him in the world's amateur boxing thing. He was fighting some other foreign kind of a fella, and he's calling us to say, get up and fight, you can win this. And he had no art then. He was gonna down tools in the amateurs. They had to kick him up off the stool. And I think it was something, he'll come to my mind, but I know all about it. He's never been at bags of art, David Haye. But punching power, yes. Ability, yes. But he was lacking art. And he was managed well. And he won the heavyweight title for Circus Act, who couldn't throw a straight punch. Valueth. A 7'2" Circus Act. That's all he was.
Yeah, I do think his heavyweight career was exaggerated by the fans.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
I'm a realist, mate. But I'm not knocking the man. He's got belts. But I tell you what, he's a Fury hater, so I'm a David Haye hater.
Well, that's the thing. I must admit, he does come across as a hater, because obviously,
of course he is.
After the second fight, he backed down on everything he'd been saying about Tyson. I was wrong. I got proven wrong. And then, you had that big debate with him. And then coming into the third fight, he started saying things like, "Oh, I'm completely ignoring the second fight because Deontay Wilder wasn't, was hurt or what." He just came up with a load of excuses for him. And I thought, you were saying that was one of the best performances in heavyweight history 6 months ago, and now all of a sudden you're completely ignoring it and picking Deontay again. He backed down on a lot of what he said to you.
Let me tell you, does that not sum him up, though? He don't know his ass from his elbow, does he? He doesn't know. He's a good fighter, but knows nothing about boxing. Nothing at all.
Yeah,
it's a good job he had Adam Booth in his corner, because he knows nothing about boxing, David Haye. He's like, at the end of the day, how could somebody get it that wrong? But I'll tell you how to get it that wrong. The heart rules the head. And every time Tyson fights, he give his right nut to get Tyson beat. Because he don't like Tyson, jealous of Tyson, always has been. Because he knows when he looks at Tyson, he shakes in his boots. Yeah. And he knows in his own mind, he looks in the mirror and says, I was frightened stiff of this guy. And still is. He admits to himself,
I know what you mean.
Every time he goes to bed with his wife, he sees Tyson Fury and thinks to himself, you know what? I'm scared stiff of this man. And it gets to him. That's why every time Tyson fights, he prays for him to get winning. And I'll tell you, when he got knocked down in the 4th round, I bet David Haye nearly shot his bolt in his trousers when Tyson got knocked down in the 4th round.
I know what you mean. Like, David Haye does come across as jealous in regards to Tyson.
Jealous as he can be. You know what? A good-for-nothing, jealous person never prospers in life. He's had his day. Yeah. He's had his day in the sun. Let's move on from David Haye now, because at the end of the day, the man's not worth talking about.
Let's talk about...
I'll tell him to his face, by the way. I'm up and down BT Sport every week and every month. If he wants to try and pull me on it, he can pull me on it. And we'll have a fight, there and then. Fisticuffs me and him.
So you'd actually fight David Haye?
Every day of the week. Wow. And I'm not hiding from no man.
Yeah. I think because
I
understand though.
Like he don't respect the Fury, I don't respect him. Enough said about him. Let's move on.
Yeah, fair play, mate. Speaking of the Fury family, your other son is also boxing. Very big name now, Tommy. Yeah. Obviously, he had that experience on reality TV, and his star is growing by the day. He's got a famous girlfriend. You've got Jake Paul talking about him. Where do you see his boxing ability and his potential to go in the sport of boxing?
You know what? The kid, he's got plenty of boxing potential. He can punch, he can box, but he's inexperienced. Mm-hmm. It showed last time out. Because when he last fought, I was more interested in how he handled the affair more so than the fight. I knew he was going to win the fight, but it's how he went about it.
The pressure. I just think
we need the pressure. We need to work on the pressure side more with Tommy than anything else. He's a 22-year-old kid. He had 10 junior bouts. He's only had 7 pro fights, but he's never been on the big stage. He's been flung forward to fights what's as big as world title fights, only 7 bouts.
Yeah.
So we've got to work on his energy first, his mental state, walking to a fight and controlling his emotions, really. But can he fight? Of course he can. But if he doesn't fight, he can't beat Jake Paul. I'll retire him there and then.
To the eye, it looks like it'll be a close fight, in my opinion.
No chance. If it's a close fight, Tommy's retired. If Tommy beats him and struggles to beat him, he's retired from boxing.
Why do you say that?
He's a YouTuber. He's got to be knocking Jake Paul out. He's got to box him and knock him out. He's a YouTuber. And I'm not wasting my time with people in the gym because I haven't got a lot of time left at 56-year-old. So right. I'm not going to train with somebody I've got no faith in. So I've told him, unless you knock him out, pal, forget me with the boxing. I'll walk away because he's a YouTuber.
Yeah. I mean, I respect that. But obviously, the last guy who he struggled with was not even on the level of Jake Paul to be in reality.
Oh, he was. Yeah, I know me boxing. Him and Jake Paul, he'd be better mover than Jake Paul. I mean, he could avoid a punch better. And I tell you what, he didn't want to do. What's his name again, that fella? Anthony Taylor.
Yeah.
You get him on that don't want to get it and wants to survive and don't want to get knocked out.
It's
hard.
Yeah.
He messed Tommy about. He didn't come to fight. Jake Paul will come to fight.
Agreed.
And when he does come, I'll knock him out. The other one never come to fight. He wanted to survive. He wanted to make a circus act of it. I don't blame him because that's what he had. Jake Paul's no better than him. I think the other kid would avoid a shot better than Jake Paul and he could move better than Jake Paul in and out.
Well, yeah, he was a wrestler, so obviously...
he's about...
He had a good footwork.
He knew more about the fisticuffs than Jake Paul. And Jake Paul's going to find out what it is. Because again, they're looking at what Tommy's done with Anthony Taylor. That's why he's fighting Jake Paul in the beginning. Yeah. You know, that's why he took him, because he thinks I could do him.
Because they think they've seen enough to give them confidence.
They've seen enough. But let me tell you something. Fury's block and cold. Tyson's had many of them lackluster performance and then come back and done what he's done. Look at the fight with Otto Walling, comes back and then does Wilder.
Yeah.
When he fought Otto Walling, would you say he's going to do that to Wilder? No. But he can bounce back. But listen, talk's cheap, money buys houses. There'll never be another Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury's a unicorn. He's done. It's his brother, yes. He's got other brothers. Are they going to show that kind of commitment and will to desire? God only knows. But I feel in myself, Tyson's out on his own. But Tommy, and I see Tommy splattering Jake Paul all over the ring within 4 or 5 rounds. And if he doesn't, it's over for him. He knows that. No pressure, Tommy, lad. But let me tell you, it will be called Tommy Fumbles as well.
Well, this is the interesting thing you mentioned about pressure, because obviously Tommy is growing up in a world full of pressures, full of, difficult things. And I think with Tyson, there was a lot more time to ease into the celebrity. Social media was nowhere near as big as what it is now. And I think Tommy is kind of being catapulted into this, which can't be easy for the lad. But Jake Paul seems to want to make it even worse, and by Jake putting these big bets on and saying 500 grand and you change your name and all of this sort of stuff, if pressure is something Tommy is maybe not comfortable with, Jake Paul is going to do everything he can to ramp that up.
No, because now we know what we've got to do with Tommy. Get his mind right. It's not Jake Paul. He's beat better men than Jake Paul already. He's already beat better than Jake Paul. It's not Jake Paul's thing. It's occasions. It's a massive occasion for Tommy. He's got his girlfriend. He's got a lot to live up to. He's got Tyson. He's got the Fury name. But we're going to work on that. That can be adjusted. We can make adjustments. Jake Paul can't. Jake Paul's a YouTuber. Good luck to the kid. He's a businessman. He's doing a great job. Keep doing it. And this fight will be bigger than probably a lot of world title fights. But can Tommy win in Tyson style? Yes, he can. Yes, he can.
It will be a massive fight, and that's the thing is, if you were to compare the Fury, Tyson and Tommy's career, obviously they're not the same people. They're never going to be. Obviously, they're completely different people. But it's amazing how quickly Tommy is arriving on the scene in a huge money fight. I mean, he's going to make millions off of this, and it wouldn't just be the fight; it'll be after the fight. He'll be, they're going to make huge money together. Beyond Jake Paul, where does he go from there, in your opinion?
Well, if he gets Jake Paul out the way, we'd like to go for his brother Logan Paul. When he smashes Jake Paul, we'll take on his brother Logan and smash him and all, if he fancied it. But let me tell you, when they see what Tommy does to Jake Paul, they're not going to want it.
Looking back at your, I would like to talk about your life as well, and not all boxing talk, but starting with we've been talking about Tyson and Tommy. What were they like as kids, young lads?
Well, Tyson was the softest child in the world. He got bullied at school. All he wanted was an hamburger, a McDonald's, and to play with his toys. And he used to play with a piece of rusty iron and a makeshift hammer and an house brick. That was what that was a piece of aerial toys, an house brick, a rusty hammer, and a rusty piece of iron. That's what he had to play with. But that's the different, aren't they? But there was a far cry from boxing. I never thought there was going to be boxers.
Really?
No, because Tommy used to play rugby. He used to be on the rugby team, local rugby team as a junior.
Well, he's built for it, isn't he, Tommy?
Yeah, he was.
He's a very muscular lad.
Yeah, he was a good rugby player. Yeah. Tommy was. He played for Salford Reds Juniors. And he did that for about 5 years. But then he wanted to be a fighter. When he got to about 14 or 15, he wanted to be a fighter because he was looking at Tyson, he was looking at his other brothers. My other son, young King Fury, my son Newey, he had 8 fights as heavyweight and he was training all the time. And I think they got all enthralled in all of it. Mm-hmm. And it's in them to do it. What's in you will come out of you. And the fight's in them.
Remind me, I think you've got a son who has long curly hair, right?
Shane, yeah.
He makes me laugh so much. I love this guy. He is one of my favourite interviews to watch. He talks so much sense. I feel like he should be on the TV doing boxing punditry. He's great.
Should.
But you were a bare knuckle boxer, obviously, at the start, which is sort of where this was all born from. I guess what we're witnessing now is kind of the journey really started when you were doing that. I guess. Can you tell me what those days were like when you were bare knuckle boxing?
Horrible, because when you were doing that, it was a case of everybody was your enemy. There was a opponent on every street corner. When I was younger, I couldn't walk down the road without bumping into somebody who didn't want to fight me. Was fighting in the early 80s on the football terraces, or football hooligans coming out of the football, fighting every day. We fought Friday, Saturday night, every night. Every Friday and Saturday night we had fights throughout my life.
Why did you keep going out then?
With those other travellers, and that was it.
Because would you not have just decided to stop in?
No. Loved it. Look forward to it. If I never had a punch-up on the night out, I'd had a bad night. I never won them all. I got kicked to pieces half the time, but I just loved it. Didn't care about getting battered at all.
So were you involved in like organised fights where people would bet on it and that sort of stuff?
Not really, no. It was just more like people. It was a pride thing and an honour thing.
Yeah.
And we say, some people would say something about my people. I'd say something about theirs, and I would just say, let's just take this outside and get on with it.
I looked at your pro boxing record. Obviously, you moved into that, and I was impressed. Like, obviously, you had a really good run at it. What was it like making a transition into professional boxing after you've just been scrapping in, the clubs and whatnot? Well,
the thing is, I never had one amateur fight. I never boxed amateur at all.
Oh, really?
And I was 22 before I started. And I was meant to be a journeyman. I was never meant to win anything because I was always in the away corner. I was always fighting the prospects, the ex-ABA champions, the champions, John Fury's in the other corner. But I still managed to win 9 out of the rest of them because I fought for the Airtel. I won that and I got robbed. The only ones I did lose, I think, was the last 2.
Yeah,
I beat Malpass for the area title and that was my first fight in 2 years. I used to box every 18 months.
Yeah,
and used to give me 200 quid, so I couldn't give up my day job. But when I fought Mal, he had 45 contests. He knocked out Joe Womi, the golden boy. He was a Olympic gold medalist. He knocked him out in 2 rounds, and I fought him in my 5th fight, 10 3-minute rounds in 10 fights. 10 threes with 5 fights behind me. I've never been gone past 6 twos before. I'm fighting 10 threes in my 5th fight. But I was never meant to win anything, but I did. Yeah. I beat some good men.
You were very game, is the way I would describe it.
Game was a pebble.
Yeah.
Game was a pebble. On the front foot all the way.
I could say that.
Even the fights I lost, even Akawandi, I hadn't fought for 2 years.
Yeah.
I got 4 days notice. I was on the front foot taking it to him. The last fight, I hadn't boxed for 5 years. Come out of the hospital with food poisoning, a dodgy Chinese. I was skint and needed $1,000. So I got in with him after 5 years, front foot, but my body just collapsed in the 4th round through exhaustion. But I was, look at the fight, front foot all the way, taking murderous right hands. The gameness is there. But if you get colded, you get colded. I've always been game.
But what I took from the footage, the limited footage, obviously, that I've seen was the desire to win.
Yeah.
You had the same desire Tyson has, actually. Yeah. And obviously, you didn't have the amateur learnings, but you had it up there.
Tyson, a training camp. I was doing that after a day job. I was working all day and doing that. I'd get up in the morning, put a shift in, finish at 5 o'clock, go back and have my tea, eggs and bacon and fried bread, and go and do that. And what did I get? 300 quid. I beat the Italian heavyweight champion. I got 4 days' notice to fight the Italian heavyweight champion, and I beat him over 10 rounds.
And the mad thing is that even these days, like some fighters I know who are, I'm talking like podium level fighters, and yet they're getting offered peanuts. You know what I mean? It's a tough game.
Well, I had 13 pro fights. I never made $3,000 out of all of them.
Yeah,
I never made $3,000 out of a lot, and it took me 8 years to get them 13 fights.
Yeah,
because when I started winning a few, my phone stopped ringing. Because I only want to employ losers, and I said, "Don't do losing. You book John Fury, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to try and win." But I just never did physicality because they was athletes and I wasn't. Because they was living in the gym, they was gym rats, and I was coming off a building site. You
fought bigger guys as well. I could see they were massive, these guys who you were in there with.
And they'd all of 45 fights. I fought the best fighters of Britain and Europe on some world-class bed. And I didn't have a training camp. I had no dietitian, no strength and conditioning. I used to take the bag in the back of the house and do 2 mile running.
Yeah.
No, my diet was all over the place. I was always as fat as a pig. No time to run because I had to put food to the table. But that's it. I wasn't worth a carrot, but I'd done me all. But what you can see in me, again, was heart and bollocks.
Mm-hmm.
If I got knocked out, I got knocked out. They said to me, avoid the right hand. I said, I'm too tired to avoid the right hand. If he gets me, he gets me with it.
No, I could see, you just scrapped, and I can definitely see that was the attitude.
But that last fight you seen there, that was after 5 years layoff.
I could see, I read up on your boxing record, and I was wondering what happened in that time that made you not box for so long.
I'll tell you the truth, I went partying.
Really?
I went partying in Spain, all over the world, but I enjoyed every minute of it. But I skinned myself. The missus left me. Kids left me. I was just a party boy. I thought, bugger it, I'm getting 250 quid. I've got a day job. I'm going to enjoy some kind of life. And I used to go on bad benders. I was going on a bender for a month or two solid. What dragged into nearly 4 years.
What's a prime John Fury session like? What kind of partying are we talking here, John? How deep was it?
How deep was it? 3 or 4 brasses every night, 2 or 3 bottles of whiskey. If there's any drugs going, I'd have them and all. Anything goes.
You're a fucking legend, John. You're a legend, honestly.
3 or 4. I woke up one morning, looked in the mirror, 3 brasses in the bed, and I thought, you know what? I was full of ching. I thought, you know what? Let's get home to the kids. I've had enough of this shite. Yeah. That was it. That's what I used to do. Go home. The missus would bat him with a rolling pin for about 10 minutes, and I think, you know what? Get on with it. I deserve it. Back to work Monday morning. But then I used to go walk about again. That was John Fury. But I always loved and cherished my kids. Wasn't really interested in wives and out like that or missuses because they come and go, don't they? And your kids stay with you for the rest of your life. Yeah. And I did, while I've been a good father to them, right? Even when I was partying and done what I did, I made sure they was all right. And I said, listen, son, do what you be a man, take after your dad. Never let a woman get you under the thumb. Live your life. Yeah. You're a long time dead. Get them Guinnesses in. I had a whale of a time, kid.
Yeah? Oh, no. So you travelled a lot. You said Spain. What was Spain like?
All over the place, yeah.
Yeah.
I look up and say, right, I'm going for the newspaper. And I'd come back 3 weeks later. You'd find me on the Costa del Sol. Ferengirola. Port of Banús. Dreamers nightclub I was in. I set up for the newspaper on a Sunday morning and ended up in Dreamers nightclub 12 o'clock that night in Port of Banús. Partying the night away with them lovely dolly birds.
So we're not going to see John Fury getting told what to do by his woman anytime soon, no?
Never in a million years, never. Like my son said, there's not a man born can beat Tyson Fury. There's not a woman in the world can tell John Fury what to do. And what I do, take him to bed, give him a good Roger in. Keep them quiet then. As long as you're saving them up plenty, they'll keep quiet.
You're old school, John. You're old school.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think that's...
they call me the Victorian father.
Do you feel like... Because, a lot of men in this generation, we're living in a very sensitive world, shall we say. Do you ever struggle with the fact of, you really belong in a different era, maybe?
Yeah, well, that's why I got no friends. Because look at these other men. They've got to ask the missus, can they have a pint of beer? And I've never done that in my life. So I don't want him as a mate, do I? If he can't handle his wife, there's no point drinking with John Fury, is he? Because John Fury will be taking his teeth out later on with 3 or 4 Guinnesses. Wallop, take that.
Yeah.
I can't do a pussy whips. Can't do it. And every woman, I'll tell you this much, I'll give you some advice. When a woman knows they can have you, they don't want you. And they love people like me deep down inside. They thrill them. They get wet knickers over it, the way I treat them. Stand on me, it's the truth.
No, look, you've got a backbone at the end of the day, mate.
Absolutely. That's why my son's a beast of a man. That's why Tyson's a beast and a champion he is. Because the way I am.
Have women tried to sort of get you under the thumb a bit and try to put you in your place a bit?
Yeah. But it's always ended in tears.
A lot of men out there are getting told what to do by women these days. It's becoming quite normal.
Well, that's up to them, isn't it?
Yeah.
If my missus tried to tell me what to do from day to day, I'd just look at her straight and say, you know what? This ain't working.
Yeah.
I've got to get away from you because it's not going to work, and I don't want to be violent with you. I don't want to upset you in any way. You're going to have a bad lifestyle because I'm a man. And something? Leave a woman do what they want to do. Let them go shopping. Let them cook the food. Let them talk to the mothers. Let them talk to the friends. I'm not interested in what a woman does. As long as my food's on the table and there's a bit of, but you know what for me.
Yeah.
That's all that matters to me. They can do as they want.
You're quite a straightforward man.
Yeah, proper. I tell them exactly where it's at. Don't spoil them. Keep them well shod and well. Barefoot and in full, they'll never leave you, will they?
Is there a kind of woman you look for, generally?
No.
Nah? Open-minded?
My mother was the ultimate woman. She'll never be equal. And the rest of them don't come close, and that's why I'm like I am today.
I know the feeling, John. I'm in that regard. I'm of a similar opinion. It's impossible to beat your mother, isn't it?
My mother's a woman and a half.
There you go.
A woman and a half, and that's how she bred sons like she bred me, and she got grandkids like she bred. My mother was a proper woman, mate. He looked after us, worked, and done everything right, and it was repeat for 40 years. Breakfast, dinner, tea, work, wash, cleaning up, everything a woman does and more. She did it without complaint and never asked for nothing. That's what you call a woman. And now, beans on toast is hard work from today, isn't it? You might cook your big Sunday dinner and a big slap-up meal. Beans on toast is a big ordeal for them.
Why do you think things have changed so much, though? Because it's clear that the world is changing. And
because they've been spoiled. And I tell you what, the men, if you can call them that, has allowed it to happen. That's why they're like they are today. What they do, John Fury don't do. I love women. I love looking at them. I love talking to them. They're a lovely, glorious creature. Man can't do without one, including myself. I put them on pedestals. There's no great. If God made anything better than woman, he kept it to himself. I like them all, fat and thin, as long and short as I can go on all day long. I love them all. But should they know the place in John Fury's life? They should do. But listen, I'm like my mate. Yeah, love me or hate me. I can't help the way I've been brought up. But I mean no offence and no harm to all those guys who's got to ask, can they go to the pub and be told what to do? Can I go and see me pals? I feel sorry for you chaps, but there's nothing you can do because you've allowed it to happen.
How do you just? We'll move on from this in a second, but I do appreciate the raw honesty. If you are in a situation like that, because I'm sure there'll be men out there watching this, let's be honest, who are in that situation. Yeah. How do they take back their sort of manliness?
Good question. What a good point, that. I can answer it with an even better answer. Grow some nuts. Grow some nuts and be a bit sterner with them and say, listen, you, Dolly, this is how I want it. It's how I want to live my life. And if you can't provide me with the needs I need, I'll move on. And if you can't have that, move on and try and live with somebody you can find that with. But they're all gone, them women, by the way.
Yeah.
In a new era, they're hard to find. They're like hen's teeth. A woman like I'm after, they don't exist anymore.
I hear that, brother. I hear that.
Rocking horse crap, a good woman. A good woman now is rocking horse crap. You can't find it. Never will.
You're one in a million, John. Oh, God. I was thinking about your sort of day-to-day life there when you were talking about what you like to do. I was wondering what an average day or week or whatever is like for you. What kind of things you get up to, what hobbies, and what's your diet like? What's your general life like?
I do a lot of exercise now. I'm older. I run every day. You know, I do a bit of bag work in my own property. You know, I don't want to diet too much because I love food. You know, I do a lot of off-grid living now. You know, I'm off-grid today. I've come out of my caravan now, miles from anywhere in a field to talk to you, because that's the way I like solace, and I know the world has escaped me, and it's not how I want it to be, so I choose to live like this now, you know. But I eat all my own food, cook it on an open fire. I'll eat anything, snails, frogs, whatever I can get. The odd pigeon or two, it'll be in my pan if it's there.
Really?
You know. Yeah.
Do you do a bit of hunting and stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm a good shot with a catapult. Yeah.
Really?
You know, I'm a good shot with a catapult, yes, another DNA thing. And I can get what I need off the land, you know. I eat raw berries off the edge and all that kind of thing. Yeah, there's plenty of nutrition about on edges grown this time of year now. You know, the red berries, what you get, they're good for your heart, cholesterol, blood pressure, everything. All them things are out there, natural remedies. We just got to find them. You know, I drink a lot of stinger nettle tea as well. You know, if you like taste, you're in trouble. But John Fury don't do taste, I do nutrition. If it tastes is good, it's bad for you.
I mean, unfortunately, yeah, that's that's often the truth. Do you, you know, obviously you used to be a party lad. What about drinking and that these days? Do you drink much?
No, I give it all up.
Yeah.
I give it all up because I seen myself going down the wrong road, and I got that prison. When I come out of prison, I give it all up, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because the drink led me to prison. The way I lived my life then led me to the jail sentence I done. So I give it up. It was a bad job. John Fury knows when to leave things alone. And if you don't leave it alone when you've gone through what I've gone through, there's something wrong with you in the head. You know, I just want a quiet life now.
So obviously that wild life led you to prison. Can you tell me a bit about sort of how that came about and what was it like being locked up? Yeah,
listen, I'm one of them again. When in Rome, do as Romans do. When I got locked up, I knew I couldn't get out, so I forgot about the outside world. I thought, right, bring it on. They'll never break me because they put me in there to break me. They won't break John Fury. I said, you give me 25 years, won't break John Fury. Never, you know. And I got on with it. I did my gym, enrolled on courses. I made use of my time. I wasn't just going to waste it. Sat on my bed feeling sorry for myself. I thought, I'm in here now. I'm going to get in shape, educate myself, and put my best foot forward. And I had the undying desire to get out better than I went in. And I did. I come out sensibler, wiser, and everything due to listening to experienced professional people, you know, non-travellers. You know, and I learned a lot. I learned how to integrate with people, how to talk to people, respect people. I've always been respectful. My father always said, treat people as you like to be treated yourself. Give respect, you'll get it back. And that's how I built my life. That's what I did in jail. I give prisoners respect who respected me, inmates, staff, governors. They're all great with John Fury.
Did you have any fights in prison?
No, they didn't come near me because they thought, hang on a minute. They thought they looked at me as some kind of killer or something, you know. They kept thinking, hang on, he might pull my eye out. You know what I'm saying? That's what they think. I want to keep me 2 eyes and all that business, you know.
Oh, right. So the story got round of how you ended up in prison after. Yeah. For those who don't know, you took a guy's eye out in a fight.
Yeah.
And so you know, you mentioned your dad. What was he like, out of interest?
Quiet. He never around his life. You know, my father hated confrontation. He was terrified of confrontation. And I watched it all my life. And I thought to myself, you know what? People used to put my dad down. They used to like bully him a little bit. And I thought, as soon as I can get a bit of man's strength and a bit of able going, I'm going to stand up for myself. And I'm going to put our family on the map.
Wow.
We're going to be no more taking shit of people. Because when I get strong enough, I'm going to make a point with all these lot. And that's what I did. I had it in my head from being a kid to make a point. All my father suffered, I was going to unsuffer him in the years to come, and I did.
So when you did get that strength, that was part of the thing that had sort of triggered you of being disrespected, being talked down to as your dad was. You weren't going to have it.
My dad never talked down to nobody ever. He never disrespected anybody. He respected everybody. He was nice to everybody. But you know, it's nice to be nice, but you can be too nice. That's life. Always remember that. It's nice to be civil, but you got to know when to turn the switch and turn to somebody else.
So in that case, you know, obviously the fight that obviously led you to prison. What led to that fight happening?
Drink again. You know, that's what it does. Because when drink's in, wit's out. You know, when people's drunk, you see the real person, don't you?
Yeah.
When people's drunk, the real person appears, and that person appeared, and I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, you know what, this is only going to end one way, bad, and it did. Bad. But there, I've done my time. You know, he's lost an eye. I've lost a lot as well. I can't travel. I'm never going to see my son box again. I've had a nightmare for a decade. I'd done 5 years in prison, out the door. 5 years on probation, couldn't breathe or move, and I still can't. If I fart too loud, I'm back in jail. That's the way it is. You're just waiting there like vultures to take John Fury's life. So I've got to take a bit of shit myself. That's why I'm on my own. I avoid people now like the plague.
You're someone who's learned a lot, obviously, from the wrong things that you've done.
Yes.
When you watch Tyson going down a very similar road, because you'd been there, it must have tore you up a lot inside. What was it like having to watch someone sort of self-destruct when they'd been so high?
It was absolutely a nightmare, probably the worst thing I'd ever been through. I've been through a lot myself. I've been through the jail. I've been through death. I've done the dying, the suffering, and the pain. I've done all that early on in my life. It's been the story of my life. Mm-hmm. But to see Tyson like he was, that nearly broke John Fury. Because if anything happened to that boy, I'd have killed myself. If he would have got anything would have happened to him, I'd have done myself in. Couldn't live without him. Or any other member of my family. If anything happened to my kids, mate, any one of them, I'd be stringing from a tree 10 minutes later. Because I wouldn't want to live without them.
That's such a powerful thing to say, mate. Like you know,
true.
And a lot of people look at you as a tough guy, but obviously you love them so much that it would be just too much for you to handle. Oh
yeah, for sure. I nearly died. My dad died.
Really?
You know, but there you go.
Was that what sort of sent you spiraling originally?
It did, but I had to accept that because he was an old man and he was very ill. You know, and he did have 66 years in life. You know, but these are my children. You know, and I think no father should die. No child should die before his father. You know, and I don't think I could handle that. I'm honest about it. You know, what would it be for me, life without my kids? Because I haven't got nothing else in my life. I'm not interested in money. I'm not interested in fame or glitz or plastic friends or nothing. I'm interested in my sons and their well-being and what they can do, you know. And people say to me, you live like you haven't got £5. I said, but I'm rich in other things. Mm-hmm. My son is the best heavyweight fighter on the planet. He's the best to ever come out of the UK. You know, all my sons are doing well. They all love each other. Mm-hmm. They've all got one another's backs. So that makes me a trillionaire. If I can sit back in my shepherd's hut, in my off-grid living area and observe all my sons doing that, I'm a trillionaire. Money can't buy that. Money comes and goes. I've had money. I've never had any money. There's not much difference in it in my book. I'm still fed. The wild birds still get fed, don't they? Mm-hmm. They've got no jobs. They've got no careers. They've got nothing, but they still eat. And I've always ate. I've always had food. And that's good enough for me. And I've always had somewhere to sleep.
It feels like you'd probably be happier being the dad of a champion than being champion yourself.
Yeah, I would. Number one, probably was never good enough to be a champion. You know, it says like this, you're either 10 times better than your father or not as good. You know, and Brendan Ingle said to me years ago, you, John, are the most underachieved fighter I've ever seen in my life. He said, I could have made you a champion. He said, but there's no sponsors, can't sell gypsies. Nobody wants to back a gypsy. There's no sponsors, can't sell you. People buy tickets to watch a gypsy get beat up. And that's where you lie in boxing. Well, I said, okay, thank you. I've had 13 fights, good day. Saluted them and walked off into the sunset. And I just thought about it then as total abuse. I thought, I've been abused in the boxing world for 13 years. But did I learn something from it? Yes, I did. Has it brought us where we are today? Yes, it has. Has it given me a wealth of boxing, a knowledge of boxing? Yes, it has. So, yeah, all went down well.
You know, when you were, I think you moved in with Tyson when he was on his road to coming back. What was it like living with someone going through all of that every day and trying to pick them up?
A horror story. Because I was frightened to let him out of my sight. If he went to the shop on his own or he went to the toilet, I was thinking he was going to kill himself. So it drove me mad. I nearly cracked up myself and thought, no, don't do that. You can't lose your head here. You've got to be the rock here. You've got to be the father you've always thought you was and get him through this, you know. But I tell you, I couldn't have done it on my own without the rest of me, with my sons and all that. You know, his mother, they all chipped in to help him out, mate, or he wouldn't have been here, you know. You know, I just thought he's got to be up 24-hour watch, and that's what we're on for 2 years.
It feels like now you're getting all the rewards for putting that work in, mate.
It looks like that now. I thank God every day for it. You know, I just thank God, because all I wanted to be back then was a father to his children, you know, and a husband, and just normal and be alive. We've made the transition now to somewhere else. And to me, this is it. We've landed somewhere on cloud nine. Do we deserve it? Do we deserve it? Does Tyson deserve it for what we've been through? Yes, we do. Well,
I think where you've landed is the word greatness for Tyson Fury.
Tyson, yes.
Yeah, he's now, to me, cemented his legacy as the best fighter of a generation. You know, it's unbelievable what he's done, and I feel like with his heart, his will, his determination, and his skill set, that basically, I don't think there's anyone who can overcome him now because he's so well-rounded. It reminds me back when you'd watch Mayweather and you'd think no one can beat this guy because he's got every style, he's got everything he needs.
But I don't know what more Tyson can do. He's won every professional title he has to win. You know, he's unbeaten. You know, where does he go? But then again, there's challenges, there's new challenges coming through every day. These young heavyweights are cropping up everywhere, aren't they? Yeah. And there is some good talent out there, but are they any good to Tyson at the moment? No. Because Tyson's on a roll, he's in the prime of his life, he's still only just turned 33. You know, the world's his oyster. And he's rolling, he's on fire.
The amazing thing as well is, obviously there was a period where the media went after him, and now to look at where he is as a mental health advocate and someone who, you know, what's been your experience with mental health? Because I feel like you're an old-fashioned guy, probably didn't think too much about that back in the day. How did that journey go for you?
I was born with a mental health problem. I've had it all my life, but my father's one of them. He said, look, if you know you've got a problem and there's no cure for it, don't worry about it. That's what my dad used to say. If you know you have a problem, but there's no cure for it, don't worry about it. Do your day-to-day chores, and if you don't, you'll never have a family, you'll never have a woman, you'll never have nothing of your own, because everybody will think you're inept and incapable of looking after a family. So the mental health thing got pushed in the cupboard. But did we have it? Of course we had it.
So your dad knew that you were different, so to speak?
Yeah, he was different. My father was medicated all his life for mental health.
Really?
He was on strong medication, my father. It's hereditary. Yeah.
I'm only interested because
all my brothers are like it. Yeah. We're all like it. Yeah. My two brothers what died, they were mental health sufferers. Yeah. You know, all of us are the same. You know, but I handle it better because I'm used to being like it.
It must be something special then to see Tyson become basically one of the biggest, if not the biggest actually, mental health advocate in the world.
It thrills me. It's a thrill. Because, you know, since I've took my time in life and slowed down a lot, I've noticed the suffering in the world with this mental health, especially in young people 40 and under, you know, and if we can help in any way, shape or form, even me, we're helping. Because I think it needs to be brought to the front of the queue and addressed properly. Never mind coronavirus. This is a pandemic on its own, this mental health issues for people. And if I can help anybody, I will. And Tyson, well, you know, it brings tears to his eyes when people say you've saved my life. I can see him fill up, and I fill up. I get tears in my eyes, and it's hard to swallow when people say to me, you've saved my life. I've been doing this tour, this UK tour, and the amount of mental health sufferers I've helped and seen and spoke to is unreal. But sometimes I keep getting choked up because I'm a very emotional person. And when somebody says, John, you've saved my life, I feel like going in the toilet crying for half an hour.
Yeah.
Tears of joy.
Yeah. Well, especially in men, because, and that's not to say women don't matter, but men apparently are 3 or 4 times more likely to commit suicide than women, especially at a younger age. And, you know, seeing a 6'9", 20-stone man who's heavyweight champion of the world open up about his issues, it can only be a tremendous thing for men everywhere to say, if the heavyweight champ can say it's not all right and he's not all right, then anyone can.
Absolutely. And, you know, the world looks at Tyson now in another light.
Yeah.
They don't just look at him as Tyson, the world heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
They look at him for strength. They look at him as a pillar for mental health sufferers. Somebody to look at, click on the internet, watch his videos and this, that and the other, and they're having a better day.
Yeah.
From that moment on, and that's priceless.
When he gets back up twice in that 4th round, that's it only adds to the legend. That's almost a better fight for the story of Tyson than if he just went and blasted him in a round. You know, it adds to the legend for sure.
Let me tell you, that's why Tyson gets up. That's why he gets up, for all those people who's looking at him and depending on him. Because I tell you what he's going through his head when he's on the canvas. People are watching me. People need me to get up and show different things to happen. If I want to save lives from here on, I've got to get up and I've got to win. That's Tyson's mindset. That's what keeps him going.
Well, I've only got one final question, John.
Go on.
How would you like to be remembered?
I'd like to be remembered as a straight-talking fella and a good father. That'll do me. I think
you've got that, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and
thank you.
We do a live show whenever the fights are on, and at some point I'd love to get you on the live show to get your opinion on what's happening in the fights. It'd be fantastic. Let
me just say one thing. I apologise to everybody out there I might have offended the way I am. I can't help the way I am. But my heart's in the right place. I'll help anybody. I'll give to anybody. If people knock on John Fury's door and they need help, John Fury will help them. But I apologise for my behaviour and how I am. That's just me. You know, if you like to hear John Fury, like him. If you don't, we'll switch off the channel. I can't help it. But thanks for having me on the show anyway. Big thanks, John. You take care and I'll see you soon, mate. Cheers. Great stuff, mate. God bless you. And that was John Fury on the Pain Game podcast. There's just nobody quite like him. Don't forget, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button on the True Geordie YouTube channel and the notification bell on, or whatever the fuck you've got to do these days, and hit that like button. Thanks to everyone supporting this podcast. It's on Apple and Spotify if you want to listen to it. And I'll see yous on the next one.